What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be covering why you always wake up with more lower back pain, how to deal with it, right? Especially before sleep, during sleep, and once you get out of bed, what should you do as well? And same as always, Michael will join me for this call. And yeah, Michael, you ready to dive right in?
Hey guys, hopefully it's a good Friday. It is Friday. For me, I'm just going to go on my personal history. I used to wake up pretty groggy. Obviously, anything that you do for 6 to 7 hours or 8 hours, whatever amount of sleep that you get, is a long period of your day. It's a third of your day. So even if you're in a desk job, I mean, you're probably not getting as much time in a chair as you are in a bed. So for me, I had to do a few things. I was a mouth breather, so I snored. I went down the route of some people need a device. I went to the sleep study and they didn't, I guess it wasn't conclusive enough for them to, and I couldn't really sleep. I'm not going to lie. Back in the day when I went, you had to go to the place to sleep there. And it's just, you got all these wires on you and stuff like that. I think it's a little bit easier now. They send it home with you and monitor it. So uh, you're in your own room, things like that. But I don't think there was enough evidence at that point because I didn't sleep much that night, but I probably needed one. But I think my bigger problem was I was a mouth breather. I'm a mouth breather in everything I do. So breaking that habit was the first thing that I had to do. We know mouth breathing is going to probably lead to fight or flight, right? That inhale through the nose is going to be important for the parasympathetic system to recover, right? That's the piece that I think a lot of people are missing. Most of us live in fight or flight daily. We're not running from the bear, but we sure as heck are running around. So our body goes into that fight or flight. Diaphragm's going to get affected, your breathing's going to get affected, your heart rate's going to get affected, and your ability overall to recover is going to get affected beyond just how you feel when you wake up. But after your workouts, after your day, you need to recharge. If you didn't have a charger for your phone, it would die, right? It would die down. You need something to recharge. And those 7 hours of sleep or however many hours you get are very important to how you sleep. You got to remember your body is going to be predisposed to certain positions and certain tightnesses. Okay. The pressure within the system is going to make you expand, be happy in expansion in certain areas and compression in certain areas. So when you sleep, you can only imagine it wants to get as comfortable as possible. It's going to curl up into those compressed areas. Okay. So for me, we'll talk about what I did for my mouth breathing. First, I started with some hostage tape. I don't know if any of you guys have used it. It's pretty good. I'm not affiliated with any of these guys. I did some research on my own, but this is hostage tape. Comes like this. I mean, you can do regular tape, but this is supposed to just easier sometimes to buy it. It comes on and off pretty good. It's got a really good stick to it. So when you apply it, it sticks on pretty good and it comes off really easy. It's not going to rip your face hair off or anything like that. So it's very comfortable to do when you're sleeping. So I'll show you how I apply it. I'm just going to put it on. It's like that. Comes on and off pretty easily. Now, I will tell you, it took me a while, right? Because I don't know if I have something wrong with my nose. I don't know if at some point I broke it through sports. I don't know if I have a deviated septum. I've never had that checked out. But I can tell you when I first put this on, I was not comfortable sleeping. It's just like anything else. When I tell you the position that you got to want to be in when you're sleeping, you're not going to be comfortable there. So it's a pattern that has to change. The second thing is I felt like I couldn't get enough nasal air in. So it kind of, and I've seen this reaction to a bunch of people that have tried it the first night or 2 nights is they feel like, oh, I'm not used to breathing through my nose, therefore I'm not getting enough air. And it's almost like a hyperventilation type of episode. You go in more into fight or flight. So I started going with these. I wanted to just try out the nasal strips as well. And I'm not trying to tell you have to do all these things, but again, if you want a good night's sleep and you're having an issue getting it, or sometimes you're going to have to refer out. But these are strips. They have little magnets on them. I put them on the very corner of my nose, right in an area where I feel like and you'll know it too immediately when you find the right spot, and then you just apply it there every time. And then they give you this nasal guard that has that magnets, and it pretty much snaps it right in. And all it does is gives me a little bit of room. Okay. And then that it could be placebo effect. I'm not telling you exactly, but there feels like there's just a little bit more that I can pull in with my nose. And for me and my brain, that's important, right? If I immediately don't know how to breathe through my nose and I have my mouth closed, then I'm going to really start to tense up. And the last thing we want to do is tense up, right? We're trying to do everything to get out of that tense situation. I believe the stress gets you into your pattern. I really do at this point. The more you stress, you're going to go into what you feel comfortable doing, fight or flight. But this helped me just feel like when I started laying down and breathing, I didn't even put the mouth tape on the first night. I just used this. And now I don't really have to use the mouth tape every day because I've now grooved the pattern of my nose feeling comfortable enough to get inhales in. So this was really, really good for me. It may not work for everybody, but I'm just trying to give you some solutions that may help you in the long run if you're having an issue with the breathing part. Some people might need a machine. You might need a CPAP machine. Some people are at that point where the CPAP machine is very valuable. I've had a couple friends that I know that I recommended highly because I had heard, we went away for a golfing trip and you sleep in somebody's room and it's bad. Like it's scary. People stop breathing. They literally stop breathing for long periods of time, and and they wake themselves up when they do breathe because it's a big, your body's saying, I got to get some air in, and they wind up waking up every minute or two of the night. That can't be very comfortable. So, and they got breathing machines, and their breathing is great now. They get up, they're refreshed. I mean, anything that can help you get ready for the day. Okay, a daily Monday, a daily Tuesday, a daily Wednesday, that's hard for you. It's going to be an important piece, right? So I had to get my breathing situated first. So I've been able to slowly become, and even when now I'll work out with mouth tape on just to make sure when now I need large amounts of breathing, I can do it. Now I won't go like high intensity or anything, but just to start to pattern in some nasal breathing when I lift and things like that. So I'm trying to just play around a little bit. And again, I haven't found these methods anywhere, but this is just personal opinion of what has helped me wake up a little bit better every morning.
There's one quick question I want to ask. Now, I know for a lot of people they snore, but so if you snore, right, nose a mouse tape and use nose strap, that can be really helpful for you because when you actually breathing through your nose, now for everybody who don't know, that will activate your parasympathetic nervous system, right? Let your body to relax, calm down, so you can wake up feeling refreshed, feeling more energetic. But if you're constantly breathing through your mouth, you're like, right? You're constantly in this fight or flight stage. Of course, when you wake up, you're gonna feel a lot worse. But now, I want to ask for somebody who didn't snore or who don't like snore at all, and they're a pretty good like nose breather. Now, what would you want to say to those people? Because I think maybe for half of the population they kind of snore, but for another half they don't like have any breathing problem at all.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I would just, again, very similar to the resets that we do every day is, right, before bed, you can do a reset. I think that's always good to relax your body and get yourself in that parasympathetic. Sometimes it has nothing to do with your breathing at all. It has to do with your day. Maybe you had a tough day. We all have had them, and you come home and you don't even realize that you're tired, but then you're going right to bed. Your mind's racing. You're trying to think what happened today. Where did it go wrong and how did it get this way? So just putting yourself on the wall with a 90-90 or whatever your favorite one that helps you the most, just to get the breathing down. I mean, so that your body recognizes, hey, this is how I want to recover. Get you out of the fight or flight response, put you in the parasympathetic, get your body, organized, the breathing method, and then take that to bed. That's what I would probably say with that population that has no, and God bless you that you don't have any snoring problems. Yeah. So, I mean, for me and breathing, when I teach it in the reset, you want a couple things. The most important thing that you want is your neck to be relaxed, right? When we go into fight or flight, a lot of us either use the neck or activate the lower back. So I want to kind of make sure that those two areas are completely relaxed. I don't want my head jammed up by a pillow. Everybody likes to have that head jammed up. I want it nice and neutral. I want no neck muscles turning on, and I want to take a nice, easy inhale through my nose to start. So that's how I would start it. Nice nasal inhale. Then I'm going to exhale like a sighing exhale. It's going to be a 6 to 8 second exhale, and it's going to sound more on the lines of this. versus somebody that wants to try to. It's just an open mouth. You're getting volume and duration at the same time. You're going to get those ribs down, and you're going to tell the body that you're not running from the bear. Okay, you're okay, and it's time to recover. You're giving it the first signal to say, let's charge this battery. Okay, you're plugging in that phone. Exhale for 6 to 8 seconds. I usually pause for a second. I'm trying to maintain some side ab tension, right? Whatever I created through that exhale, not muscular. So it's side ab tension through the exhale. Your ribs will internally rotate and close. Your diaphragm will ascend. Get out of the way. I pause there, and then I inhale nice, clean blue air through my nose without any neck muscles turning on. That is pretty much what I say to myself and to my clients.
That's extremely important. Now, can you see the screen all right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think for a lot of people, especially when they're doing like 90-90 or 60-80 breathing exercise, is now, first of all, you got to make sure that you don't breathe too fast, right? We're talking about 5-second inhale, 2-second pause, and the 8-second long control exhale. Now, when I talk to my client or talk to, other people as well, in general, they're thinking they're breathing really slow, but they're like, right? Still breathing way too fast. So that's number one. Number two is you got to make sure your neck is 100% relaxed, no tension at all. So when you do the breathing exercise, check in with yourself. No neck, no shoulder, no lower back. The rest of your body pretty much completely relaxed. And there's one more thing you can do is that you can add a little more weight to it on both sides here. So you can add a little bit dumbbell or kettlebell as heavy as possible, right on the top of your pelvic. And then you can add a little bit elevation at the bottom as well. So maybe I would say 34 inches tail, right? So that way you can kind of compress your pelvis to internally rotate it passively while you're breathing through your nose and out through your mouth as well. Is there anything else you want to add on to that?
No, I mean, understand that when your bottom side there, your bottom ilium bone is pressing into the ground, right? The weight on the top is help pushing it in the ground along with gravity. So what it's going to do is open that back space up of the pelvis, right? So a lot of us need that IR space. We're kind of glued back there. So anything on your side is going to be great. I mean, it's going to have that IR component. The other thing that you can do too, because kettlebell can kind of hurt a little bit. What you could do if you really like this exercise is you could go get a sandbag, like buy a sandbag apparatus, because then that molds right onto your hip. You can add as much weight as you want. Some people can go really heavy here. Some people can't go as heavy here. But if you want something that's more comfortable and that you can add a decent amount of weight without all that annoyance, get something like a sandbag and put a bunch of sand in it. And over time, as you feel more comfortable, you can add more sand in and put more weight on there. So it's just a little bit easier, I think, to hold that on and relax versus trying to have something be held up there. You're holding it. Remember, the key here is we're trying to relax along with it. The last thing we want to do is add any annoyance to what we're doing.
100%. And if you use a sandbag, well, the pressure will be pretty much even out as well. So it's not going to be one trigger point, but will be entire pelvic area. Cool. So beside the breathings, beside the mouse tape and the nose strap and the sideline, I guess, silent breathing exercise, anything else you want to add on to that?
I mean, I guess the positions that you're in the most, right? What will be assigned to you? If you're in your right hand side, for me, the person that likes to just draw into his right hand side, when I get into bed, those are the areas that are going to be tight. I'm going to be drawn to those areas. The areas that are expanded are easy, right? So you have to go the other way. You're going to have to stretch through some tissue that is tight, and you're going to have to compress some tissue that is expanded, right? And it's not going to be comfortable. It's not your regular pattern. Anything that's outside of your regular pattern is going to, your brain is going to say, what is this? So there's an adjustment period, a learning curve, I guess, to say it. But for me, I love using that sideline position in general. Number one, I think it really gets people to turn off their necks. You can use a pillow. A lot of times people use a pillow for the wrong reasons. They'll just put it on their head and their head will get jammed forward even more, which is just more reinforcement of a bad pattern, right? Versus the crook of their neck. So putting them on the side where they can have a pillow, I feel like anybody can get comfortable there and they have the ability to shut off their neck quickly, right? Secondly, It's just you need to take some accountability of what you're doing every day. So we talked about the office chair, but now we're talking about bed. What does it look like when you're in bed? And I ask people that all the time. Well, what does bed look like for you? Wow, I'm all over the place. I'm on my back. I'm on my right. I'm on my left. Like sometimes you have to even pinpoint it down a little bit more. But for the most part, if you're doing a grounding exercise, grounding exercise is perfect because you want to ground to a side that you're not used to grounding to. Right. So this is one of my clients. He's a catcher, and he's buried in his right hand side. So when he comes back from a long season, he plays a pretty high level baseball and he catches a lot. So when he comes back, we spend a week or two. He doesn't take a week or two off, but we take a week or two just to get him back. First thing you'll notice, right? You'll see what I put in the back of him, right? That's an important part. Some people like to have their body extended. Some people like to curl up and flex. So I put a board back there. It's almost like you can do this against a double wall where you want to make sure your head is aligned. Remember, everything's about that stack. So I don't want my head, I don't want to be in that fetal position. I want to make sure that my head and my butt are lined up. So I put it's a backing of a bench or something. So it's long. And I just get him to feel where he is because you don't know where you are in the back. You don't feel it. So, but having those points of contact onto something, his head is back, his shoulder, his middle of his back is back, his butt is back, and it's all lined up and stacked. So I want a good 90-90 position throughout. So from head to butt, I'm lining them up. And then from hip to knee and knee to foot is almost going to be in a 90 position. For me, I like a pillow in between my groin or my knees here, okay, just to elevate it a little bit. And I think, again, this position should be kind of familiar to you guys for the most part because they're in most of your programs. So it's just a grounding, it's a right glute max, it's a sideline abduct and shift exercise. It's the majority of what you're going to be doing outside the bedroom. So if you can kind of mold yourself to it inside the bedroom, it's just going to reinforce what we do during the reset process. So I have a pillow between his knees. The other thing I have his head nice and elevated. Remember, that head can be elevated in this position. When I'm on my left side, this is just mimicking me being in my left side. That's what this is doing right here. It's mimicking me being in my left side when I like to be in my right side. So head is elevated. It's nice and relaxed. That's where the neck can shut off. And you'll notice that I put a small towel roll, and it's got to be small. You don't want anything to be like it's already going to be uncomfortable. The last thing you want to do is make it overly uncomfortable. But I put something underneath his side ab wall just for him to have a sense of pulling away from the ground in there. I want to compress that area there, right? If I can compress that area over the night and breathe the correct way, I'm closing that rib cage. I'm opening the top side up. So if you're lacking IR on the top arm, right, and we do this, that's getting us air in the top and it's closing down air on the bottom. That's an important part. And we're going to be doing how many reps of that through a 7-hour sleep cycle. Right? That's important that we can do resets for a couple minutes a day, but then what's the rest of the day look like? Is it bombarded with breaths that are bad patterns? Like if I can wake up in this position and get, I don't know. I wouldn't even venture to say how many breaths you get into a 7-hour sleep cycle, but that's reps, right? You're getting more reps in a position that you're not comfortable with, right? Our whole idea here is how can we get you what you don't like to do? And then eventually apply it to you walking, running, whatever you like to do. Okay. So starting in the bedroom, I think would be very, very helpful for you to pop out of bed and then do the reset even more. It's just patterning something that's always probably going to pattern the other way.
100%. Now, I would say like the right sleeping position will be the cherry on the top of the cake, right? Of course, the reset are super important, but if you can't sleep well, it doesn't really matter because your body can't even adapt it long term, right? A lot of clients, they're just coming in the program, they're asking like, hey, Alvin, give me the exercise, right? Give me this, give me that. And, some client after 2 weeks, they're getting tremendous relief, right? But, some client, they kind of struggle a little bit, and that's normal. And when we're checking their lifestyle, when you're checking their sleep, right? They're sleeping like damn, like they're not even sleeping, right? I think for Balgvis, he told me like back in the days, he will wake up every day for about 6 or 7 out of 10 pain, but his range of motion are looking a lot better, right? But when he go to sleep, he gonna wake up at night 4 to 5 times every single night. And once I told him that, like, hey, dude, you're not even sleeping at night, you're not resting your body, right? So you're just constantly in this fight or flight stage. And now he used mouse tape, nose strap, and I would assume that I think you just had a call this morning with it, right? Now I would assume,
Tuplaga,
yeah, I would
yeah, he's
assume
killing it right now, man. He's killing it. He's doing well.
exactly 100%, right? But that's the power of breathing, and that's the power of having a really good breathing when you sleep as well, right? If you can sleep pretty much pain-free when you wake up, of course, you're gonna feel a lot more energetic.
Here's what I love that you just said that. It kind of takes me along a little bit of continuum of, and my percentages are off a little bit, but in my opinion, working with the amount of people that I've worked, I would say about 60% of people will get better if they do the resets that are asked of them, right? Then you got about a 25% that they get better for a certain period of time, but then they can't hold on to that adaptation or that pattern, right? And those come from either the bed or their chair or whatever they're doing. Like the dentist that's always in his right side, he's going to want to go to what's comfortable to him, right? So you got to
Yeah.
start. And again, that's the lifestyle thing. What are you doing in your life that could be bombarding this? And then you're looking at what, 10% that maybe more the foot becomes an issue where you got to unlock the foot. And then some people have the tongue tie and some cranial stuff, and they're going to have to obviously get referred out. But it's a deduction system, right? You're hoping that you're part of the 60% that can get at 50, let's say 50% of people that can just do the resets that are right for them and rate their body and start to move along in life without pain. And you got to deduct. Well, that's working at times, but you come back to the table and it's not keeping anything. Then you got to start to look at the sleep, what you're doing while you're working, rule that out. If that's, go that path. I mean, it's deductive reasoning here, right? You can't just come up. I mean, this is, many people are 40, 50 years in, this pattern. So it takes time, and we don't know which pattern. We know which pattern it is with the body, but which pattern puts you into that position? Is it because you sat all day at a desk and you and I talk about this all the time. Like when you get tired, it doesn't matter if you're sitting or standing. Some people will say, hey, why I get up. That's fine too. Like you should get up, sit down, but you're still going to curl in to what you like when you start to fatigue, right? You just are going to until you break that pattern. It's going to be, and where else but the bed, right? You're going to curl right into what feels comfortable to you. So you have to put an eye on that, and you have to really start to make that a big part of the whole process. And then take care of those things one by. Is it the foot is the limiting factor? We can get you're sleeping okay. Is it your resets are doing okay, but then somehow you take a 50-yard walk, you come back and you feel like you're in pain again? Well, then deduct all that and let's go to the foot, right? And if it's not the foot, I mean, I've referred people out. They have had a tongue tie or a cranial, some stuff with their mouth. They're grinding at night. I was a grinder. So for me, the third piece, I don't even think I introduced this, but this is like a mouthpiece that they sell. What it does is it keeps my tongue up in the top of my roof of my mouth, which helps the breathing, right? You want your tongue on the roof of your mouth when you inhale, okay? That helps get that nasal air in there. So this right here, I just put this in,
Amazing.
nasal strips, and I'm ready to go. And these are like 20, $30. I mean, not a lot of this stuff. They're now, I think as this becomes, hey, this might be your issue, these become more valuable, and people see the difference about them. But I mean, these are just small tools, right? Everything here we're trying to give you to get out of pain, because pain sucks, right? Pain is what we're all here for. We don't want to be in it no more. We want to live our lives and be prosperous and thrive, and pain can get in the way of that. So whatever tools you can use that works, let it work. Maybe some of them are placebo effect. Who knows? Maybe they get you breathing in your mind better. I don't know the whole research behind it. I could just tell you what my experience has been with the people that I've trained and myself. So I mean, I'm not a person that hasn't done this myself. I've tried to get out of this pattern for a while.
Yeah, 100%. And I think for everybody that's watching or maybe listening to this, now I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed, right? Now we talk about, your cranial, the mouth, the breathing, the food, the sleep, right? Now, when we treat client, we're gonna start with the basic stuff. We're gonna do the reset. And then if their body cannot adapt it long term. And then we look at all those different things, right? So we're not going to be looking like, right, when one client come in, we're going to fix everything, like target everything right away. We're not going to do that. So we're not going to fix that problem until that becomes a problem. Okay, so I don't want you guys to feel overwhelmed because we're talking about a lot of good stuff right here. But when we treat a client right off the bat, we're gonna start with a reset, and then we will see what went wrong. Maybe you sleep, maybe your breathing pattern, maybe your lifestyle, whatever chair, right? Or maybe your food problem, or maybe you have some balance problem up around here, right? Now there's a lot of different way we can tackle that, but we're gonna start small. We're gonna start with the foundations. We cover the first part, right? Why people wake up with more back pain because, they can't even sleep well. They're not even resting. They're not recharging their body. And second, what they can do before the bed and during the bed time as well. So what can people do, I think, once they get out of their bed?
Well, I mean, first of all, I mean, what I do a lot with my clients, like, so say we do a grounding to the left, and
Mm,
maybe we'll do a glute max or your adductor pullback. First thing I want them to do is walk, right? You have to implement this into gait at some point in your life. I had what did I have? Darshan. I think Darshan's in Paris. And
mhm.
Darshan's at that point where like it's fun with him because he has now figured it out well, and he knows too. Like you're not convincing him your stuff works because he knows it works.
Yeah.
You just know when you know. Like if you hit a good hip capsule stretch on a hip capsule that doesn't open up, there's just something about it that feels different. There's a sense, and I don't want you to try to get it. The resets will do that for you. But I mean, for him, we're kind of messing around as I had him in a hip capsule stretch, and I made him laugh a little bit, but he owned it. Like you could tell, like he saw, you could just tell in people's eyes when they know. So for me, I'm like, listen, you're in Paris right now, Darshan. Like, what do I want you to do? I want you to get on that refrigerator. He had a little refrigerator that was perfect for the table walk back. It was the perfect height for him. And I had him, and he could tell, like, he couldn't even laugh. He was trying to own it. You got to own that position. And then I made him go walk around the apartment. He's like, yeah, there it is. I, I feel things turning on my left side. I can get into my left side. I feel that heel. I feel that adductor. I feel that oblique. I feel that hamstring. I feel that glute med. And go walk. Go implement that to walking. So I said, where better could you? You're going to be there for the next 3 weeks, Darshan. Hit a hip capsule stretch, hit a grounding exercise, whatever I give you, and then go walk the museums. He's like, it's one big museum. I'm like, go strut, and then I get them rotating, like arms rotating, and then all of a sudden they start looking like Deion Sanders with some swag, and they're laughing. They're like, wow, what is this? Like, yeah, you're not a refrigerator anymore. Your body rotates on top of itself. Now you're giving it the ability. You open up space to rotate. So it's going to feel different and you're going to sense it differently. But now you got to own it at all times. Like, and that's the stage he's in. I'm sure you've seen this too. Like it's a fun stage because I think they look at you and they're like, okay, this has been my problem all along. Like you were right. And they connect. Now, how do you get them to keep it connected? So, that's an important part. And then like you said, you narrow things down here to the bedroom. Like that's a big part. It really is. I mean, I think it's my worst part. I think it really, don't get me wrong. I'm a very asymmetrical human being as an athlete. And sometimes there's good things to asymmetry. It made me very, fast. It made a lot of people that have that asymmetry are very speedy. So, I
Mhm.
mean, there's good things about asymmetry, but it's just like you're hammering off your right leg most of the time. You're grabbing with your left, you're squatting with the left, you're hinging with the right. There's value in that, but there's also value in making sure that you can, and you'll never change. People are like, well, you're bringing me back to my heels. I should be on my heels when I run. I'm like, you're never going to do that. I'm opening some space available to you. As soon as you go running again, it's not like you're going to be a heel runner. It's not going to happen. But now I'm just giving you that itty bitty amount of space that you did not have to move into. So you don't have to move into your lower back or your neck or your knee or whatever it is. I know we're going off topic here, but
Yeah, now there's one thing I want to add on to that. Now, we talk a lot about asymmetrical training because as human being, everything about you is in balance, right? It's asymmetrical. But now you can never fix, quote unquote, fix the asymmetry, but you can definitely balance your body to a point where you don't feel any pain. Okay,
yeah,
that's the difference. We can't really fix that, because we're designed that way as a human being, but we can definitely balance your body to a point where you don't have any pain and you don't have any movement limitations.
Listen, if you have a problem with asymmetry, you're going to have to take it up on the creator that gave us a liver on the right hand side, right? The
Yeah,
liver on the, I mean, we could go on and on, but that liver is a big deal on the right hand side. It changes pressures. So
100%.
therefore, even if you're left-handed, people are like, well, why am I right? I'm like, you still have a liver on your right hand side. Like it's, you're gonna live with it the rest of your life. But here's the process. Once you understand it, like once you own it, and I think you and I do a very good job of this, is I want to teach. I want them to know when they compensate. When is that IR turning? When is my leg going to bend? What are the compensations so that I know what that trigger is? What is that trigger? And once the more you know, you can start applying it to your bed. Oh, you know something? When I go to bed, I'm in my right side still, my shoulders down like this. Well, this is how my posture is in general because now I just, okay, well, if I just go this way, right, and I close this, I can open this up and this is stretching out. And people love stretches. I mean, there's stretches, I guess, but you don't want to overly stretch. You don't want to make that tissue so tight that you can't get air in there. You just want to open it up, right? I mean, if I am just cranking this lat and it's just tight, I can't get any air in there. So it is just more of a mellow, open the spot, let the air do the rest, right? And that's our issue, really. I mean, that's what this all comes down to is people want to just force that position when air has to be the guy that does that.
100%. Now, I know this call is about, waking up without lower back pain, but I think we just covered all of that. Now,
Yeah.
I think we're at a pretty interesting topic right here because, the biggest mistake I've seen throughout the years was all of our client that will be there trying something way too hard, right? They're either stretching way too hard, don't like breathing take the job, or they're turning all the exercise into a strengthening exercise, into a muscular contraction exercise, not a sensory exercise, right? So that would be the
Yeah.
number one mistake I've seen through all of my client throughout the years. That's a huge one. If you try too hard, you're probably not going to get much out of it, honestly. So what I tell my client is the lower the intensity, the better sensation, better result you're going to get. It's actually the quite opposite.
Yeah. You're totally correct. And I think that's a really hard thing to, like, not only are you telling people to get in an uncomfortable position and then own fight or flight, which they live in, but on top of it, you're telling them you really can't do much about this, but just chill. Like chill in this position that I put you in. And all I want you to feel is left obliques right now. That's it. Like that's hard for people. They feel like they're in control of their own body. They should be able to fix it. And it's not like that. That's what put them there in the first place, right? Isn't that what like it's the very opposite. So teaching somebody how to relax and recover might be our hardest duty because we've got people coming in at level 10. Like you see somebody like try to get abs and their neck just goes. I mean, it just you can feel a lot of things just with your neck. Your head goes, like you'll have a trigger. It's like a poker face.
Yeah,
You ever see like what's your trigger?
yeah, yeah.
Everybody has one, right? Everybody, it's the neck or it's the immediate like extension pattern, right? Or it's the let's go here pattern. Like there's always a tell, and we get to see it on the outside. They don't get. I mean, some of them don't even feel it. Like you subtly don't feel these things because you've done it for so long and you've cheated them so long that is the pattern. That's all it knows. So the only thing that you can kind of do is, okay, did you feel something different there? Yeah, that felt weird. That's probably right. All right. So that's probably the one thing that if it feels different, there's probably a chance that now you're implementing something new into the brain.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like I just love this so much because
Yeah, it's
yeah,
great.
because like when client get a best result, typically when they're 100% relaxed in that position we put them into, whether it's silent breathing or grounding exercise on their left side, whenever they can be 100% relaxed, no neck, no shoulder, no lower back, they typically get a best result. The IR went from like a 5 degrees to like 45 right away. And they're like, whoa, I feel like it didn't do much during the exercise, but I'm not moving right now. So I think that's the biggest difference.
You know what's crazy? I mean, I don't know. Have you? done like in-person assessments at all?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You can tell the tension immediately. Like if you do like, yeah, and I always use IR because it's just so easy to kind of like illustrate. But like when you try to dump them forward, it feels like, and when you do, it's, and then when you get them to relax, it just, there's none of that. It's just, there's no rocky road there. And you can kind of show them, like, do you feel how tense you are even when I'm doing this exercise? Can you relax it enough just to allow it to do, see what it does? We don't even know what it does because you're just so like getting into yourself. I guess you call it getting into yourself. That's really what it is. It's like, it's fight or flight, man. It is exactly what they say it is. So getting people out of fight or flight, I think, is it's a doozy. You got to be pretty tricky. You got to be pretty creative with people to whatever it is. It could be how you teach it. I try to like envision almost like meditational, right? I don't know if you've ever. I tried to get hypnotized once, and it didn't work. But I will tell you this: like there was something about it. Like I don't think I could fully turn it all off, but I was turned off enough to like we use like the volume button up to a 10 being the highest. I'm probably a 10 most of the time. I am. But I was able to not turn it off to a 0, but I was able to dial it down. If you could dial it down, like, and start to, hey, I want you to inhale quietly, no neck. I want you to exhale all this dark, black, whatever air, like whatever you can kind of put in their head, exhaust fumes type of, get that out, get it all out. Pause, inhale nice blue air. Like that's where creativity comes in, and different strokes for different folks, because some people it takes a multi-layer approach to get them just to relax. I mean, just, hey, sit down and talk to me. Let's sit down and start over, and let's just, and it's cool. It's a lot of people really, I mean, they're at the point, if you're in this and in pain, you will do anything to get out of it. You'll listen, and you'll try to do things that you're normally not used to. It's nuts.
Yeah. I mean, like that's a pretty interesting point because I think I have 4 clients back in the day who used to practice meditation every day, right?
Mhm.
Before, and then they have back pain, and then they join a program. They're like my 4 best client ever
Mhm.
because right off the bat, they know how to breathe properly, right? So I think most of a client they can get a tremendous relief. So we're talking about maybe pain level went from A to like 2 or 1 within, I would say, 4 to 5 weeks,
Mhm.
right? But typically around that range, they're just learning how to breathe properly. That's it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Maybe
You-
ground themselves a little bit, maybe train a little bit hamstring, but basically just learn how to breathe properly, right? And I mean, like that's why most of the client they feel like, oh, they're not really doing much, but the pain level just went down like this. So pretty much in the first couple weeks, you just train yourself how to ground yourself, a little bit side abs, a little bit hamstring, but most importantly, just breathe. Just
yeah.
breathe, right?
If
And
you don't get the breathing done right off the bat, you're in trouble. Like
100.
you've ever tried to like, and we've all done it as practitioners. We've all just like, okay, this guy can go here to here to here, and you'll always come back to, okay, I didn't do the breathing first. Remember, after you learn how to breathe, I got to put you into a very uncomfortable position that's going to turn the volume up to a 10 automatically. And can you get that volume back down to a 3 through breathing? So it gets harder and harder, but if you don't tackle the breathing right off the bat, you're never going to own something that's uncomfortable, right? So that's where the side lying and the 90-90, you might be able to get 10 or 15 degrees on your measurements without doing anything, just sitting there and breathing. I mean, I could literally get 10 or 15 degrees probably out of you if I just taught you how to breathe correctly.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, if you want to take one thing out of this whole thing, if you don't talk, you leave the program right now. I'm telling you right now, if you just learn to breathe the way we taught you to breathe, you're going to have some success.
100%. 100%. I think I also got another client back in the days. He's a business owner. Now he told me that his biggest takeaway is now I think for everybody who's listening to this or watching these videos, right? If you can just breathe properly, your pain level will went down, right? Maybe how your body move haven't changed yet. Maybe you're not sleeping well just yet, but if you can just breathe properly, your pain level will went down.
You
And
know,
that's
you know,
and that's a daily process too. It's not like I breathe through one day and then the next day I'll be like I'm back to normal, right? It's not how that works. It's a daily process.
That's crazy. So I do conditioning, right? And cardio, and we're starting to add that into, say I mean, you have to build a recovery zone, right? But then you want to bring people, like everybody likes the high intensity stuff, right? And that's great. I mean, you need that high intensity stuff, but people are just so, because I think there's a lot more fat loss to it because you're putting your body into chaos, but they never really build that parasympathetic, like CrossFitters and things like that. They're very good at maintaining up top, but you'll never see a big drop in their heart rate. And that heart rate drop is huge. So what I'll try to do is I'll get them to a point where I'm driving that heart rate up above their aerobic zone, that threshold, right? So think about it like a budget, right? If this is your budget, this is your resting heart rate. This is the heart rate where no longer the oxygen can maintain the levels. That's your budget at home. That's your budget. So if I drive it up over top of that budget, and you're now over top of what you earn, that's credit card zone, right? That's the credit card zone. It's 2 to 1. I mean, you're literally every time you're taking $1 out of here, now you got to pay 3 back. I'm just making, but that's what it is. The key to that is you can't stay in credit card zone for very long. You got to dip back down into your budget quickly, or this is the end. This is the end. Your body's going to say, I can't do this anymore, and it'll shut down no matter how tough you are, no matter what shape you're in, right? So the key is drive you up. How do I get back into my budget as quickly as possible? And you guess what the number one thing that I get people to do? Breathe. Start the same breathing that we do. So they could be riding a mountain on a Kaiser bike, up off the bikes, pedaling with some resistance. We go for 15, whatever it is, 30 seconds, right? And then I'll give them 60 seconds to do an active recovery. So they're just doing no resistance, really slow so that they're moving, and just inhale through the nose, big, long sighing exhale. You know what gets them? That pause, that 1 second pause, that ownership of a pause. And everybody's like, I just paused that time. And all of a sudden you see that heart rate, which is spiking, stop. And then it's right down it goes. They're breathing their way back down under into their budget. So I mean, it's used everywhere. It's really can be used at any point. If you're at work and you feel like, oh, I'm going to lose it on a coworker, whatever it is, the stresses that you go through your day, or your kid does something dumb and you want to give it to them, right? Can I apply it there? I know my heart rate's high. I know everything. I'm in fight or flight. Can I own that? That breathing alone will allow you to just, and I'm not saying you have to go to the back room to some meditational room and have an oracle there. I'm saying, can you just sit there in front of people in a crowd, being a little bit maybe upset or whatnot? Can you get it down? I mean, those people are going to be successful in life no matter what, because they can control not only their energy, but their emotions, their recovery. They're not always, I mean, if you're in fight or flight, you're staying in that credit card zone all the time. You can't make infinite amount of energy. You can get more energy, but you can't make an infinite amount. I mean, that's where conditioning problems go wrong. And you need to save some for the adaptation that you get. You're spending some money on the actual what you're doing, but then your body's got to recover to whatever you're adapting to, and it needs more money to recover. That's what'll get wasted in the end, is that part will get wasted. So you just did all that workout for nothing because your body's got no money left to recover, to get that adaptation.
100%. Same thing with back pain, same thing with strength training, and same thing with athletic training as well, because I used to work at Ohio State, right? But now the most important thing will be breathing and sleep, right? Doesn't really matter how hard you train during the day. If you don't sleep well, don't breathe well, doesn't really matter, because none of them will add up. You're just like boom right here, and then the next day you went down. Instead of you're adding that up day by day. It's a daily process, right? It's completely different.
I think what's we help the most out of people is that we teach them that, and we give them that tool, and they can apply it to everything they do in life.
Oh yeah.
That's the one tool that you can say, okay, wow, okay, so I'm overstressed now. Let me apply breathing. Just start it. That first, and I do it like, so it's a point where you're like, you get into that like fight or flight zone. You need a starting point, an initial, okay, what do? Inhale quietly through the nose. Big, long sighing exhale, get all that exhaust there, get the pause, inhale. Now it's not so bad, right? That's one. That's one rep down. I call that one rep. When you get 6 to 8 with a pause and you get a good inhale without your neck turning on, that's one. Second one's a lot easier. The third one gets easier. Before you know it, you're like, okay, well, I went from here right down to there in 5 breaths. And it's the same thing with opening it up. I mean, people ask me all the time, like, can you really change my IR 35 degrees in 10 breaths? I can. I honestly can. And when you see them and you do that for them and they look at you, that's how you know, like, he's okay. He's not full of shit. Like and I say to him, listen, this isn't guaranteed for the rest of your life that it just opened up 35 degrees. We got to work this to a pattern, but that's how easy it can be. Like, and you can see if you did it right or not. Like, that's why the assessing yourself and knowing the triggers and all these things mesh. And I think if anything, we're educating our clients to be able to apply these things in everyday life. Because remember, walking, breathing, you're not going to do anything more than walking and breathing, right? We're sitting in a chair at work, whatever you do at work, whatever that position may be. Those are your 3 major positions, right? Sleeping, you want to make sure that you're able to apply everything that we do in the situations that are most important or most critical to you changing that pattern.
100%. 100%. Now, I think back to the client success journey as well. If we can maybe figure out a way to let our client realize the importance of breathing, especially in a short amount of time possible, maybe within the first couple of days or first week, they can get a lot better result, a lot faster. I think we're talking about at least 2 times faster if they can learn how to breathe properly within the first couple of days instead of in the first, 3, maybe 4, maybe 5 weeks, right?
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think the success for me with people is by, and I'm sure it's with you on your side of it, is just, and it's hard because you want to move to the sexy stuff, right? You don't want to just, everybody does. Everybody wants to do the pull up or bench press, right? That's just life. So, but to sit there and put your hands on your rib cage, your bottom ribs, I want you to exhale till you feel them actually, contract. And then them getting that inhale and feeling the core expand, right? So when we're exhaling, internal rotation closure. And then when we do it right, we close off those certain areas that like the air. Then when you start to feel that stuff open up that usually doesn't open up, like your chest or your back or your right side, whatever it may be that you're tight in, that's all we're doing. It's a balancing act for us. We're putting pressure in other areas that you don't like to get pressure in. You immediately sense it. You feel it. It's something different. Your brain senses it. So therefore, I mean, that's what this all comes down to is breathing. I mean, really do. And obviously sleeping is going to be a part of that. If you're breathing during sleeping isn't very good, then you're going to have some issues of getting out. So if you're really serious about changing the pattern and you're not having the success that you would like to, that you're going to have to go down that road of, okay, well, I might have to start to do a sideline position in bed and try to stay there for a little bit. Or if I'm on my back, can I do kind of a 90-90 position that I'm feeling at first and relax my lower back? Can I get a little bit of a tilt? Can I, like, and knowing where your areas are tight are important because you want to go the other way. You want to, or at least stay neutral. I'm not saying you have to go completely the other way, but try not to dip into that.
That's good. That's good. I mean, like, that's a really good episode as well because, I think back in the day we're talking a lot about asymmetries, training, etc. But right now, this episode we're really just talk about the basic, right? Just breathings.
Yeah.
You can't really train your body asymmetrically, adding all those fancy stuff, asymmetrical training, strength training, etc., without proper bracing first. And I think right now we're trying to build a really good foundation for our client as fast as possible so they can progress as fast as possible as well.
Well, it's funny. I think we did the episode on the one position 90-90, right? That we think could be the most, like, if we could just narrow it down, we're going to a remote island, you could bring one food. We all play that game, right? If you could only have one, CD the rest of your life, you might not even know what CDs are, but I'm an old guy. So, but whatever, one song that you could do, what would it be, right? And even more than the 90-90, right? If I could give you one piece of advice and you can only follow one piece of advice, breathing would be the number one thing that I would teach. I mean, it would be the most helpful. It's got the most bang for the buck, if that makes any sense.
100%. 100%. All right, cool. Now I think that should be it for today's call. I'll see you guys next time. All right, take care.
See you guys.